Welcome, welcome everyone. Dr. Stephen Hobbs here from the International Mentoring Community. I see and I serve as Director of Certification for the INC. And today I have two others joining us, and we're going to be diving into a conversation that has to do more with the mentor who is actually swimming in the mentoring swimming pool versus someone who's just putting their toe in. So it's a topic that's where we're going to be heading towards. So I'm going to ask both to introduce yourselves, and then I will get your website that you want to connect with, and I'll get you to put that in the chat function, and that way I can take a picture of this and insert it into the video as a point of reference. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with the L, and then we're going to go to the D. So.
All right. Well, my name is Linda Matthie. I have had a really fun and extraordinary background. I've had 38 wonderful years in petroleum. Partway through that journey, I decided to write and publish cookbooks, and it set me off on an entrepreneurial path that I've enjoyed so much. I have 3 national best-selling cookbooks under my belt, and as I say, it just opened doors that I never would have experienced. So I have this wonderful background of traditional business in both large and small. I've been a vice president of a junior oil and gas company, all the way up to management staff within a large multinational company. And I've had my own business running since 1994, always concurrently. So I've had a beautiful dip in lots of ponds. And partway through that journey, I decided, yes, about 55, I was seeing a lot of my colleagues being let go. And it occurred to me that as that wisdom left organization, the people who were left behind were left without anyone to mentor, accountable. It just created to me such an amazing opportunity to bridge that. I undertook to form a global mentoring platform, and through that exploration found a company, Mentor Cloud, based out of Silicon Valley. And upon meeting the founder, I loved what they said. I loved how they had structured their business. It wasn't just about matching hard values. It was about literally creating a value connect with people who wanted to mentor and be mentored. And that was really important. Upon meeting the founder, Ravi Gundlapalli, I realized that his vision, his passion was something that I wanted to align with. And so I completely shifted my focus from creating my own company to working with Mentor Cloud. So for the last almost 4 years, I've had the extraordinary privilege of speaking with companies and organizations and not-for-profits and academic institutions about what mentoring can do within their organization and for its people. So now more than ever, I think that human connection, that relationship connection is so important. And it gives me profound joy. The people that I am blessed to work with and to do the work that I'm doing after, a very interesting and joyful career. This is a new chapter, and I've always welcomed the favorite of my 4-letter words, which is next. And this has been my next, and I'm truly grateful for it.
Great, well, thank you. And one of the things, Linda, I think we need to do is recognize is that Mentor Cloud actually is the sponsor of these community conversations on mentoring. So I wanted to give a big shout out to mentorcloud.com, and we will be putting that web link up onto the show notes. So thank you for that, Linda. And it's great to get that little bit of a backstory that goes with Mentor Cloud, and we're entering into a strategic alliance with them. So this is wonderful. So thanks for that. Doug, you just want to do a quick introduction to who you are?
Sure. My name is Doug Lawrence, and I am co-founder of the International Mentoring Community, and today the Director of Education for the International Mentoring Community. And I have my own practice of mentoring, where I've logged in excess of 2,000 hours of mentoring, both in person and virtually.
And you have your own company as well that you're doing your mentoring through. You want to just name that, and then again, put your information into the chat as well?
Yeah, I can certainly do that. And I have my own company focused on mentoring, and it's Talent C People Services Incorporated. And I'll put the website up in the chat.
Okay, wonderful. Thanks very much. And so in our community conversations on mentoring, one of the things that I do is I ask at the very beginning, is there something that you'd like to talk about? And because this hour is more about those who have a bit of a seasonedness, well, that's an interesting word, seasonedness about their mentoring practice. Is there anything we want to chat about? Anyone want to offer something? If not, I've got something up my sleeve.
Well, I think what I'd love to talk about is how important it is to listen when you're in the pond swimming or trying to tread water and not sure where to guide and direct your mentees as a mentor who's fully engaged. Sometimes we just need to pause and truly listen to know exactly where and what the mentee needs. And I think quite often if we're too focused in on our own agenda, we miss, and we're not able to support and give the mentee what it is that they truly need. And those sessions aren't as productive or as valuable as they could be. What are your thoughts on that, Stephen, Doug?
I think it works for us is because in module 1, 12 or 13 down in that one is this notion of listen responsively and sharing consciously, which we sometimes flip around and it's listen consciously and share responsively. It's a combination of words. I think this is a great topic. Great topic. And let's explore it. Doug, you okay with that?
Yeah, I am. And I'm going to add one more to that. It is under the mentor profile about the mentor. It's actually number 6, manage effective communication skills. So I think the three all kind of are blended together, and it's one of my favorite topics. So let's get at her.
And it's in module 1, which is about mentoring. And module 1 is what we'll do is a short workshop or a short course for people if they want to just ground themselves. And therefore, it is an important topic for those who are seasoned. And we sometimes zip by that, assuming we know how to listen. So I think this is great. So, Linda, you want to take us off down this path and see where we go? What have you got to offer us to get us going?
Well, again, just based on the timing right now, I think because the world is upside down and people are disjointed, they're confused. There's a real sense of not knowing our direction. So the importance of mentors and people searching mentorship could never be more valuable, in my opinion. But what it creates is, because everything is in such chaos, we really have to listen to, I believe, the deeper messages that people may be intending, albeit not articulating. That there's a lot of anxiety, there's a lot of stress, there's a lot being put on people right now. So listening to not only what's being said, but what's not being said is so very, very important, especially now.
I think the point that you bring up I'll call it the white space, is that there's a lot going on in the white space while we're sharing and listening and responding and doing all. And it's to your point is you've got to listen in that white space as well.
Right.
And as mentors, we'll sometimes miss that, or we just intuitively think we are going to pick it up when in fact we may have to be a little bit more conscious about actually listening into that white space. And that's the area that I find so fascinating, because even from an organization workplace culture perspective, listening into the white space in a mentoring arrangement, listening into the white space, the space in between, I think is great. So that's a really good point. I want to just say yes.
I've never heard it expressed that way, Stephen, and I really like that. Listening into the white space. We all know about white space, but I've never thought of it in terms of listening. We tend to think of it more visually versus from an audio perspective or a thought perspective. So I think that's really brilliantly stated. Thank you.
And I picked that up because I spent many years in a center as a faculty member where we did a lot of really creative tools and techniques were brought into leadership and team related work. And I remember the person who we would do something like Japanese kabuki theater as part of it. We would do the people leading choirs, and we would work. And one of the pieces that someone said one day, which was the co-educator with me, said, actually music is listening between the notes.
Ooh.
And I had to really pause and think about that. And then I started, that's true. It's not always the note or the word. It's what's in between, the spacing, how long, right? And all the things that go with it. And so that's where I really picked up on this notion of the white space between the notes of the music. That's where it came.
Beautiful. I really like that. That's it's something that we can all, relate to and identify with and listen for.
Yes. Well, one of the other things that I would add is that I, over the years, have created a little short course on listening, and there's 7 elements to the listening. And I dug around in each one and tried to figure out how can you improve each of these elements. And if you actually draw a 7 and you start at the base of the 7 and work up, I'm not going to go through all 7 of them, but the first one is the notion of hearing, right? Is to actually hear the sound. And as someone who's losing my hearing and now pursuing the hearing aid world, all right, that becomes so evident at this point in time for listening is. But if you go up the 7 and out to the point of the 7, all right, that's responding. Remember I shared, listening consciously, listening responsively. So between the 1 and the 7 and that little nook, there's the aspects of listening. But again, it's the responding. And you said something, Linda, that I think is so important, and I'm just going to add a word to it. You said about the pause. For me, I call that the credibility pause. As the listener, you get credibility by taking that pause. Because it's so easy to already start thinking about how I'm going to respond before I respond that you missed what was actually in the tail end of the message.
True.
Right?
That's true.
And that credibility pause is how credible are you to just take that sort of millisecond even sometimes to just have that little bit adds as a mentor to the mentee now goes, you're actually listening to me. You're not jumping to respond. You're actually listening. there's a pause there that I'm going to give you credibility for that. And so I just wanted to add that part as well. So
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, that's very insightful.
yeah, Doug.
With the pause, so one of the things I typically, when I'm working, say I'm mentoring a manager or something, is one of the techniques I get them to do is using the pause. I call it the pausing technique, is to pause briefly and think about how your message is going to be received by the other person. And if you feel as though it's going to be received in a negative, then you need to rethink and not say what you're thinking, and using that technique as part of the effective communication package.
So Linda, from your perspective, what's the pause about? How do you frame up the pause so we can learn something from you here as well?
I believe we're all so quick to fill in space in conversation that it's a powerful thing to stop, to truly think about what's been shared, what's been said, before responding. As you said, and you're so right, Stephen, we tend to be formulating in our minds how we're going to respond, or our thoughts are already in motion. So if we can calm those so that we're truly just hear all of what's being said, the tone, the context, the actual words, the way they're being said, the emotion behind, all of the aspects of what we're hearing. Take that pause, truly think about it, honor that person. Don't feel obligated to jump in with, a response, which I think societally we tend to do. I do. I've always sort of felt uncomfortable in those lengthy spaces. And yet, there's nothing that can honor somebody, their thoughts, their feelings, their opinions more than truly hearing them, letting them embed before asking more questions to explore further.
Let's pick up on the feelings part.
Mm-hmm.
We use language like think it through, and you've used emotions and feelings, Linda. For those who are listening, let's explore that a little bit more, because feelings, isn't it feelings come before thoughts? Isn't there some, like an energetic that comes in and we then interpret it as thoughts, but there is some notion of feelings that influence our responding as well? Thoughts about that?
It's kind of a chicken and egg situation. I think there's times when feelings drive thoughts, and there's times when thoughts drive feelings.
Okay.
So it's a reciprocation and not always consistent. There's going to be a dance of when one occurs.
So maybe when a feeling, like I'm listening and I might be going, whoop, I might get a little angry,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And you can respond from an anger point of view, right? And being able to remind ourselves is that that anger may not be what's happened. That just triggered you, but it has nothing to really do with the mentee, right? And being able to pay attention to that as you go to respond from the listening that you're doing. That's where I'm sort of going with this notion of the feelings part. Thoughts?
So does intuition play a part in that?
Keep going. What are you thinking?
I'm posing a question.
Well, the intuit, coming from the inside out, intuit, right? This notion of the notion of feelings and intuition. I think there's something connected there in terms of an energy flow that would take place. And I think maybe if anyone's listening to this at this point in time and you have more to add to this, why don't you jump on the next call and let's chat about this part, because I think there's something here, even for seasoned mentors. But if you're listening to this as someone who's new to this, this is an important topic to understand, because it's in the library here. So pay attention, I think, where we're going, and I think, we don't have the answers here for it, but I'm always alert to if I get a little bit of a hit when I'm listening, and that feeling wells up, is just to really pay attention to that. And just to share a little story is, I've spent my life in places where there's war zones, and I've dealt in war issues, and I've dealt with machine guns up my nose, and I've dealt with all these kind of things. And listening became such an important element of what it is that I'm doing. But the welling up of motions that are just underneath that surface, but there's no way I could respond, having listened to it, get triggered with that, whoa, because my life is at stake, right? I'm not saying we have to go to that, because I'm not saying a mentor-mentee relationship's at war. I'm not saying that by any means, but it's like getting in touch with that is important.
Mm-hmm.
Well, in those situations, Stephen, when you're in danger, that's when your flight or fight system really activates. So your intuition, I would think, would be even more highly attuned in situations where you're under higher stress or duress than in normal everyday interactions. That's not to say that we don't have intuitions. I do believe we do. That's part of what makes us uniquely human. But to a lesser degree, I believe, than when you're in the situations that, my goodness, you've been in. I can't even imagine.
So are we born intuitive, or is that something we can learn?
Both.
I go both.
Okay.
I think women tend to, and I'm going to make a gender-based generalization. I think women generally are more intuitive because nature has given them the job of protecting their young and nurturing their young. And so I think they're more highly attuned to nuances. And so I think nature has given women perhaps a more easily tapped into gift, but we all have it. We all have it. And some of us develop it. Some of us trust it more than others. We've all had situations where we've just known that, whether it's someone that we've met and an intuition said, this is not somebody that you want or need in your life, or a situation, or even in conversation, where there's a block that you intuitively know you need to either work around and come back to in a more creative way. And that's part of being a good mentor, is responding to those appropriately. Would you agree?
Yeah, I would. Yeah.
Yeah, it's feeling into the white space.
Yeah.
I think that's what you're bringing up for me, is there is that white space. There are thoughts there, but there's also feelings, because they may help or hinder the arrangement, the relationship between the mentor and the mentee.
Right.
And paying attention to those is going to be important.
I think an important thing to note here, because even if we're not sitting in front of people, which in today's world we probably won't, other than through a Zoom situation like this, is being highly attuned to the body language. That's where a lot of our intuition can come from. What somebody says isn't necessarily what they're thinking or feeling. But their body language, how their eyes are moving, you're watching that. That's, what is it, 90%? You would know these statistics more than I. you have to be paying attention. So it's not just hearing, it's watching. It's really taking in how something is being said. Right?
Yeah, we listen to what we see.
Yes.
Yeah. Anything else about this notion of listening? And like I say, I'm not going to go into this. We don't need to go into steps and the elements or anything. There is this word that goes with listening. I'd like to see what you think. They always say, we need to do more active listening. And I'm going, well, listening by ing means it's active, isn't it? What is it that we're trying to get at when we go, you need to do more active listening? Any thoughts about that?
I always look at that whenever somebody says active listening. I look at it from the aspect of, I can listen, but did I actually hear what the other person was saying?
Yeah.
So it comes back to the hearing and comprehending, reflecting aspect. That's what someone might mean by active listening.
And I think to tie into that, the aspect of actually being present in the moment, rather than my attention is I'm meeting my mentee in a coffee shop. Exactly. Yeah. And I'm watching the people go by while they're talking and telling me a horrific story of something that just happened to them. What is the message now that I'm sending to that person?
So is the other side of listening, active listening, passive listening?
It can be.
So what do we mean by passive listening? Because people will use these terms, because I've gone to courses and I'm learning all about active listening, and then I'm learning about passive listening, and I'm sitting there going, listening is a process. It's ing. It's a process. And then we put these adjectives on it. So I'm just exploring this. So what would be passive listening?
Don't you think? Like when people pretend they're listening. And it's almost patronizing.
Okay.
So I think when somebody's asked to actively listen, it means really listen. Don't just sit and nod your head, and really listen to someone. We've all known people in the coffee shop whose eyes are walking somewhere else, with other people, and it's horrible. It's like, excuse me, I'm here and I'm speaking. Are you listening?
Yeah. Well, I brought it up is because, the courses over the years, they've used those kind of terms. And for us as mentors, and three of us are practitioners of it, I believe, so I think and feel this, that we are there because that's something that's just, in a sense, natural to us. But when someone is new to mentoring and being a mentor, they may not have the full experience of what that means. They may have the lived experience to be able to have part of the conversation, but to develop the effective communication, Doug, right, that you mentioned, is to really understand this listening aspect. But unfortunately, I've also had conversations with people who are seasoned mentors, and they've treated me in this very passive way when we're having a conversation, and I'm going, I don't know if I can extrapolate it to say, is that what they're doing to their mentors, or is that just them telling me something? Right? And then
not to take it personally.
And then to have the conversation. So right, there's a lot to this listening.
Because we sometimes we talk about trigger words in a conversation that if you're not paying attention, those trigger words, which could guide you into a different direction in your conversation with that mentee, if you're not paying attention, if you're not listening and hearing, what's being said, you're going to miss those. And that opportunity is gone.
So there's the notion of trigger words that take us away, but there's also the notion of trigger words that take us somewhere.
Yes.
Is that what you're getting at?
Yeah.
Can you explain a little bit more about that?
So I'll give you an example. So I'm meeting with an individual that's been referred to me, who the mentor says, I don't know how to deal with this person. I can't seem to get through to them. There's just something that I don't know. I'm just not. And so I'm parking all my bias because I automatically went to, I bet you I know what the problem is. And I park my bias and I have the meeting in a coffee shop with this particular individual. Body language sent a message. So as they walked through the door, came in, partially hunched forward. So, and looking down, not looking up, and trying to kind of survey the coffee room area to be able to say, okay, it must be this person I'm supposed to meet with, or anything like that. So right away I'm going, okay, that sends me a couple messages. And then sat down, we do the introductions. I asked a question about job, they're searching for a job, and how is that going? Well, not that well. I'm not deserving of a good job. So right there those are trigger words. Because number one, I'm not deserving of a job is self-esteem, self-confidence challenges that this individual is having. And that particular, if you want to call it diagnosis or assumption, has been refortified by the fact that the body language supports the language as well. And so then, anyhow, long story short, that was a huge issue. We had to work on self-esteem, self-confidence, change the self-doubt to make it become more believing in yourself, and so on and so on and so on, right? So that's typically an example of trigger words in a conversation that kind of there's a message there, and you as the mentor needs to figure out what that message is, because now we need to change behavior.
This is great. It's because I actually wrote an article for mentors about the emotional triggers and mental prompts. And I found 8 of them, and they were linked, 8 of them that were linked to the notion of what are the characteristics of an extraordinary experience. So if the mentoring arrangement relationship is about an extraordinary experience, then there is this notion of mental and emotional prompts, triggers that are going on in there. And the way that you articulate it just keeps supporting that which I wrote, right? But just to let everyone know, it came about is because of Doug and I having conversations like this before. And I went and I did a little research because I was really interested in, well, what might they be?
Right.
Right? Rather than just, oh yeah, they exist. Yeah, okay. No, I went and actually did some research and then wrote about them. And I'll put that a link to that article in the show more notes if it doesn't end up. Sometimes what I do is I'll cut it into the video as well, folks. So you'll see it. You'll see it. So, do you have anything written about this notion of the triggers or listening or anything, Doug or Linda, that I can put in the show more notes?
I know that I'd have to go searching through some of my blog articles where I've talked about that, and I can certainly do that.
That'd be great. Again, and because this video will actually end up in the mentoring library,
Okay.
we can put those references there as well. Linda, would you have anything that you've written over the time, or even a video that you would respond?
No, I've only ever, thought about this topic. I've never written about this topic. So I'm really enjoying this discussion.
Okay, great.